Hello, this is Smislav the Slayer. I'm going to be doing a live Blitz chess game commentary. We've got the Sicilian defense, and probably going to the dragon. So we'll see what white decides to do here. Normal. So then probably bishop to g7, bishop d7. Though white can still kind of throw in some curveballs here, so we'll have to see what he does. Such as that. Now, knight to g4 is good to attack this bishop. And we got, ooh, wow, okay. So I think we're going to want to play knight takes, knight takes d4. Now pawn to e5, which forks the bishop and the queen. It's actually not that complicated of a tactic. And so with this a check, we can put a attack the queen anyway, so that we still get the bishop as of now. I think possibly, let's see, with the queen being under attack, it makes it just really difficult for white to deal with this. It's not impossible. I think it's probably impossible. Now he does have a possibility of playing queen to d4 and attacking this rook. But even then, I don't think really does a whole lot. I'm going to go ahead and play queen to f6, which I don't know if it threatens is the right word, but it forces white to either exchange his queen or to move his queen again. And so now I'm getting a nice bit of development going here. I believe I'm going to play knight to f6 next to attack. Actually, attacking the e4 pawn isn't all that good. The bishop I don't want to fianchetto at this point because I want to protect this d6 pawn. I think maybe at this point something like the simple a6 preventing knight b5 is alright. I don't know if that was so good. Now knight to e5. And here we just want to play very simple moves because rook piece, so we want to eliminate as many of the complications as possible. Now, I think I have to play rook here to take care of this c7 square, which would fork the king and the rook. That allows knight to f6 check, but that doesn't actually do anything. Now he can play, okay, that's fine. This is pretty much all fine. I think he maybe should have taken that pawn, but now bishop to e7, and then maybe rook to d8, and then king to e8, or maybe king to e6. Problem with king to e6 is it adds complications, and I really don't need to do that. But it does get the king towards the center. I mean, it's just one of those, in this kind of game position, probably rook king to e8 is a better move, just to avoid any kind of complications. So we'll protect this d6 pawn again, and then king to e8, and then we'll have bishop and rook on this d7 pawn. That's fine, we'll just exchange off a pawn. Now where's my knight go? My knight will go to c6 if white plays f4. So knight to c6, and trying to think of a plan of attack here. Maybe d5 to open up this d file. No, knight to b4 now, which attacks this rook and this c pawn, c2. So we have rook takes c2 check. I'm going to go ahead and do that and sacrifice this knight to take this bishop. I think that's the best way to go. I was thinking if there's a way to save my knight, but I don't think there is. And it honestly isn't that big of a deal anyway. So if I play d5, he has rook takes b7. And that honestly is the kind of complications I want to avoid. So I'm going to go ahead and play d5. Now d5 is a lot better. d5, e takes d5, rook takes, or bishop to I wonder maybe rook to c8. Just let the bishop take care of these dark squares here. If e5, then just d takes. Oh, that's. I'm trying to think here. If I want to play a check here, I don't think it actually matters. Because check comes down, there comes the rook. It doesn't really matter. It honestly doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and play rook to c4 to give my rook a little more scope. Attack this e4 pawn. Now we can play maybe d4, bishop to d6. At some point maybe f5. Okay, the h5, that's a pretty straightforward move. And I don't mind giving him the open h-file. I definitely don't mind liquidating this weak d6 pawn. And now I put the rook behind this weak e pawn. I don't think he can defend it. So we're going to pick up this e pawn, then maybe check and try to get at this weak pawn. And these three passed pawns will be very good to win. Also, I mean, it's just a safe. Okay, he resigned. So, yeah, this position is pretty much. He has no activity or anything. It's just lost, unless I blunder. And so, fortunately, I blundered before then. So, really, this all came down to a somewhat suspect queen move here early on, which allows knight to g4, which is just almost always a good resource to consider when it's possible. And the times when it's possible are when the a4 to e1, e8 diagonal is blocked, so bishop to b5 check tricks don't work. And when there's nothing on the e file and the bishop is on e3. And then, as you can see, bishop to f4 is not so good. No, it's not so hot. Bishop to g5 kind of works, but then you maybe have h6. Sometimes h6 is sort of something you don't always want to play. But maybe the knight to e5 or something. Man, I don't know about knight to e5. I don't know. It just like harasses this light square bishop. Maybe I just gain some tempos. That works too. But that's pretty much that's pretty much a good resource to go for. And as we can see in this game, f4 doesn't work at all because of knight takes d4, queen takes d4, e5, which note that blocks off this diagonal, which is otherwise pretty dangerous for the queen. And also note how if the knight wasn't here, that the queen could maybe just go back to c3, and then if e takes f4 wouldn't be possible because if queen takes h8. So I mean, some of these opening tactics, you can't put it in your rule of thumb part of your brain because there's specific things that need to happen. You can get in trouble sometimes too if you try to go for some of these opening tactics and they backfire because there's some awkward resource like that your opponent has that works and shuts you down. But here he doesn't have that. So the check is another thing where if maybe the bishop had been traded off or something, that this would work. But here it doesn't because the bishop can attack the queen. So he's forced to play queen to c4. Maybe queen to b3 is better. And then if e takes f4, queen takes b7. And then at least he can get my queen side a little messed up. I mean, maybe you'll have two weak pawns and one actual pawn for the piece, which is not enough, but it's maybe enough to keep playing in a blitz game like this. So maybe that's something he could have looked at. But at this point, I feel very comfortable, and queen to f6, I think, probably seals the deal, because even in the blitz, as far as the blitz game goes, because he has to move his queen again, basically, or trade off queens like he did. And with either of those two things happening, he doesn't even have enough activity to make up for his lost piece. So it's like that. It's sort of I kind of make a joke where I have a bad position and I'm down material, and so it's a funny. I mean, it's not that funny, but I say like I sacrificed a pawn to get a bad position, and when you're in that situation, you're in trouble. And you might as well play. I mean, he played it out, and that's cool. Like people blunder all the time, especially especially at these rating levels. I mean, I'm rated higher than him, but I'm not anything like I'm not like a blunder-proof rating or anything, so that's fine to play it out. And and I think I found some pretty good moves that just do a good job of solidifying everything. This knight f6 check idea is pretty much a red herring. It looks active, but it doesn't actually do anything. And doubling on the d file again doesn't do anything. That's why when I say once queen f6 happens, the game is effectively over. He has only the defenses to his active moves are just very easy to spot and very straightforward. And I didn't really have to think very hard about any of these moves. And see, I moved from queen to f6 to the rest of the game. It's all like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. Yeah, for here maybe it's the only time I really thought hard. But even then, that's just a matter of losing my patience a little bit, perhaps. Where I'm saying, oh, I want to play d5 and just like end the game, now. Liquidate this weak pawn and end the game. But b5, that's like maybe that's a good place to point out where there's an obvious move, protects the b5 pawn, and just play that move. Like, in your mind, just say, I'll play that. I don't need to do anything creative or fancy right now, or at all. I don't need to do anything creative or fancy the rest of this game. Because I can just play natural, normal moves and just try to exchange off everything, and I'll win because I'm up that piece. And that's where people get themselves in trouble a lot of times. Especially actually at my level, which is Class A USCF, U.S. Chess Federation. One thing I think I noticed people do is when they find checkmates, especially fancy-looking checkmates, they really can fall in the bad habit of trying to actually get. It's not a bad habit, but you want to make your game beautiful and everything, and make that have that nice-looking checkmate to finish off your game, as opposed to just sort of grinding the other person down and winning an end game. And it's nice, it's fun to do that, but at the same time, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble that way. Looking for these, sacrificing material when you don't need to sacrifice material. And, right here, actually, is a good example. Maybe I could try to go for all this piece activity and try to get a checkmate. No, don't do that. Just take the bishop, let him take the knight, and that's a great move for you, because you exchange off another set of pieces, which decreases the complications of the game, and you won a pawn, which is helpful. That decreases things a little bit, too. And as opposed to maybe getting myself into trouble and ending up losing a piece or a rook or something, because here's the problem: is rook takes b4, and then if the king can take this rook, so it's not that big of a problem. But you can get caught up in tricky stuff like that, and honestly, for me, I'm maybe going over beating this game dead a little bit. But for me, these positions are positions that I have a difficult time with, especially when you consider that you should win every single one of these positions. Like, if you lose one of these kinds of positions, that's one too many, because it's objectively it's completely won. So you should win every single one. And so even I don't have too much trouble where I'll lose maybe 1 out of 10 or something, but that's too many. And so. It's good to go over these kinds of games and to think more critically about what's going on in this game, and just to treat it like it's real. Don't say it's just easy cleanup, which it is, but don't just start spacing out or thinking about something else. Finish the game before you. I guess it's that. What is it? Don't count your chickens before the eggs hatch. So that sums it up, which I think is like a 5-minute speech to one folks saying. So I'll stop now, but thanks for watching.